He offered us an option. We may collaborate with Dave or with him. There was silence in the gold room. Chris Doumitt was absent to carefully sort the treasure from the garbage for the first time in almost 10 years. There was a gap in Parker Schnabel's team that could not be filled with equipment or cash when he abruptly left, sending shockwaves through the Klondike. Parker had just pushed his operation to the limit by setting a new record. I'm looking forward to it. I do too. That seemed like the dream when I first arrived here 6 years ago. Many people didn't realize how expensive this aspiration was. The rumors began right once, but Chris's actual reason for leaving and his subsequent statements depict a picture of loyalty that has been strained to the brink, the unspoken conflict. The Klondike is known for shattering things, spirits, machines, and occasionally the most powerful coalitions. For many years, Parker Schnabel and Chris Doumitt's alliance appeared to be impenetrable. Chris was more than a worker. He was the quiet cornerstone of an operation based on Parker's youthful, unrelenting drive, the seasoned veteran. But something changed in the run-up to season 15. Parker wasn't just shooting high, to put it bluntly. He had the impossible in mind. 10,000 ounces of gold were the goal. That is $20 million worth of more than 600 pounds of pure gold. A person who would not only break his own records but solidify his reputation as a mining genius. I have to admit that the true key was the people involved. We have a great collection of girls and guys up there, but achieving such a huge goal demanded a level of output never seen before. Many failed to consider the logistical headache this caused. Parker made the decision to operate not one, not two, but 3 enormous wash facilities at the same time in order to reach that figure. The notorious Lucifer, Big Red, and the Rock Monster. This meant additional strain and longer hours for the miners on the ground. However, it meant an almost impossible task for one individual. The gold room's master, Chris Doumitt, was now in charge of cleaning up all 3 plants. The boys appear to have a potentially successful idea. You see, the magic takes place in the gold room. Separating the precious gold from tons of black sand and concentrate is a laborious, painful procedure. It calls for perseverance, accuracy, and a keen eye. You can't rush this task. Chris was suddenly confronted with a deluge of information. His day was just getting started after he and the rest of the team had worked a demanding 12-hour shift. Concentrate was drowning him. The sheer amount is starting to feel physically taxing. He was pushed to the limit. A man who seldom, if ever, complained. It was more than just putting in a lot of effort. This was a significant shift from the work he had mastered. Chris, a man who usually keeps his cool, had to speak up because the pressure was so great. Something has to give, he made plain. What no one tells you is that this was more than a simple call for assistance. It served as a warning. A warning that Parker was ignoring the toll it was having on his most devoted soldier because he was focused only on getting a number. You know, I've retired from this. I joined these guys and assisted them in becoming profitable gold miners. You know, look in front of you. Therefore, it's time to move aside and give a younger man who needs a job a chance. There was no one left to assist him because the crew was already overburdened. Chris Doumitt stood directly on the fault line as the empire grew, but the foundations were starting to crumble. Was it too little, too late, or was there a solution? A bargain with Satan. I discovered ways to get around or prevent these issues. A lot of people are enamored with Parker Schnabel's poverty to riches tale, but they frequently overlook the important people who made it happen. Chris Doumitt entered the gold mining industry by chance. Originally hired to construct cabins for Todd Hoffman's original crew, he was a carpenter by profession. He wasn't a child, yet he worked hard and studied quickly. He discovered his real calling in the gold room after joining Parker's crew in season 4. He became essential. Over the years, his painstaking efforts increased Parker's profits by hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of dollars by optimizing every ounce of gold recovery. Parker was aware of this. Chris wasn't simply the gold room guy. After all, the volatile operation as a whole was held together by him. Chris was the cool voice of reason when tempers erupted in the midnight sun. He was the patient mentor to novice miners that needed help. He was a father figure, a buddy, and the only one who could ease stress with a silent presence or a simple remark. His leaving wasn't like losing a gear, to put it in context. It was similar to removing the building's cornerstone. Now, the building was shaky. Parker finally listened to Chris's warning about his unmanageable workload and agreed to teach crew member Tatiana Costa to help in the gold room. Although it appeared to be a fix at first, The harm had already been done. You see, this was more than simply the physical burden for Chris. It concerned a basic conflict of principles that had been festering in the background. A significant financial dispute that took place behind closed doors was alluded to in the video that started this entire discussion. The sentiment was evident, even though we don't have all the information. Following years of steadfast devotion and playing a crucial role in the establishment of Parker's empire, Chris found himself in an impossible situation. The story that emerged was a sinister one. Chris began to feel more like a piece of machinery that could be pounded into the ground until it broke than a cherished collaborator. 10,000 ounces of gold were weighing down the trust that had been the foundation of their relationship. A last, devastating decision would result from this sense of disposableness. Even though Parker was this little honorary kid that perhaps reminded me too much of myself, I always liked him. The shadow of the empire. There was no spectacular moment when the decision was taken. Years of mental and physical fatigue culminated in a slow burn. Imagine giving someone else's dream almost 10 years of your life. You put all of your effort, talent, and heart into creating an empire. You watch as the legend grows, records are broken, and earnings skyrocket. However, the relentless tempo is having a negative impact throughout. The unrelenting grind of the gold rush lifestyle is what no one tells you, and it ages you in dog years. The question became inevitable for Chris. Was it all worthwhile? Was Parker's health and peace of mind worth sacrificing in order to pursue another unachievable goal for his legacy? No, was the response. He decided to let the lunacy alone. He made his own decision. He had to go before it engulfed him. As insiders quoted his own words, this was an act of self-preservation rather than a typical retirement. He was leaving the bustle of the Klondike behind in order to live a more tranquil life where his health was the top priority. He refused to be buried by the empire. Even though he had contributed to its creation, it had an immediate and significant effect on the staff and viewers. The gold chamber seemed deserted. Parker was put in a bind as the morale of the camp plummeted. Fan theories regarding the drama are rampant, and many people are crazy about guessing about it. Some said it was a fabricated plot to increase the show's ratings. As is often the case, the truth was more subdued and meaningful, but others claimed there was a huge blow-up argument that was cut out. It told the tale of a man who had nothing more to demonstrate. His stripes were earned, his financial future was safe, and he had come to the conclusion that carrying on would simply be too costly. Chris did not depart in a flurry of glorification or rage. He departed with the subdued majesty of a self-assured man, a value that was incalculable in ounces. But what does all of this signify for Parker's meticulously constructed dynasty going forward? In the end, such things result in people being cut off, an audience message. Thus, we are attempting to reconstruct a story from insider rumors and drama on television. Doesn't it make you wonder, is the whole picture being shown to us? The mystery, that crucial detail that we might be overlooking, is what viewers are searching for. The problem is that the story might not be about a huge betrayal or a covert battle. Perhaps the true narrative is one that is being told every day in workplaces around the world. It's a tale of loyalty versus ambition, and when to say enough is enough. Let's have a frank conversation for a little. Do you believe that these things occur suddenly? That the team's pillar, Chris Doumitt, simply wakes up one day and decides to leave? Obviously not. Trust and well-being were gradually eroding as a result. The content we view on Gold Rush has been meticulously edited. The silent times of fatigue, the off-camera chatter, and the actual physical toll that a 10,000-ounce season puts on a guy who is no longer a child are not shown to us. We witness the arguments, the victories, and the gold ways. However, the cost is invisible to us. Parker's greatest strength, his unwavering drive, is also his greatest weakness, according to the Parker paradox. He is a mining genius because of it, but it also causes him to be oblivious to the needs of others who support him in achieving his objectives. Sometimes he sees the mountain, but not always the others who are climbing it with him. Chris Doumitt's exit was a result of Parker's management style, rather than a personal criticism on Parker. Chris left with one last unstated statement. It was straightforward. Your peace of mind is not worth any amount of gold. And more important than anything they could ever dig up from the earth is that lesson. You can buy loyalty, The internet did what it does best. After the official narrative of burnout and overwork was decided, it began searching for the truth. This is when the exciting part begins. In the heat of the moment, many people forgot about Chris Doumitt's past. You see, he was a member of the original Hoffman gang before he became Parker's right-hand man. Parker spent years trying to defeat Todd and Jack Hoffman, with whom he had a long-standing friendship. We think that the old river channel where the miners float contains excellent gold, but you never know until you undertake the cleanup and discover the truth. One of the most fervent fan theories, according to which Chris's exit was a defection rather than a retirement, was triggered by this relationship. This is the theory. Parker's adversaries became increasingly desperate as his operation became famous. There were rumors that Todd Hoffman made Chris a secret offer that would change his life when he was trying to launch a new mining business. A larger salary wasn't the only factor. The offer included a stake in the business, a partnership, and the opportunity to become a boss. Despite his faith in Chris, Parker had never mentioned the one thing. Consider it. In the Klondike chess game, it's the most powerful move. You don't simply defeat your opponent. You ruin his operation from the ground up by stealing his most important player. This notion is very popular since it gives the narrative a sense of betrayal. It changes the story from one of a devoted soldier growing weary to one of a well-thought-out business choice. Was Parker aware of this covert offer? Was allegiance questioned during a contentious altercation? What no one tells you is that devotion can have a cost in the high-stakes business of gold mining. According to this theory, Chris just took a better contract because he felt underappreciated and was pushed to the edge by Parker's unreasonable expectations. It depicts a quiet, backstage bidding war for the Yukon's top talent, with Chris Doumitt as the ultimate winner. However, another argument contends that Chris wasn't actually fighting in the goldfields. A other, more intimate notion gained as much traction as the juicy betrayal theory. And if it's true, it's heartbreaking, to put it nicely. This notion is all about a secret Chris was hiding from the cameras and possibly even from his staff, and has nothing to do with money or rivalries. There is conjecture that Chris was coping with a serious, unreported health problem. Not only was he exhausted from the hard, strenuous work of a 10,000-ounce season, it directly endangered his health. You see, the show frequently ignores the negative effects of this lifestyle in the actual world. The actors are not here. In a hostile setting, they are actual humans straining their bodies to the maximum. According to this notion, a doctor gave Chris a severe warning. He was given a deadline that made him decide between his future and his employment. The story abruptly changes. He didn't leave because he wanted to. It has to do with leaving. No amount of gold could help him win the quiet conflict he was engaged in. It clarifies why everything happened so quickly and why he has kept quiet, preferring seclusion to public spectacle. Was it anything more personal, betrayal, or burnout? Share your theory with us in the comments section below. For more untold stories, remember to subscribe and like this video. Here's one last thing to consider. Is loyalty a one-way street in the modern world?